Hey, pal. It's 4:13 a.m., which is homestuck o'clock and past my bedtime. So this is going to be the last YouTube video that I make this year on account of I run out of time to make more after I finish this one. I mean, there's just no when else am I supposed to make something after this? So you may be wondering why I have Worm, a complete web serial, on my screen right now. And the answer is because you should read Worm. It is a neat and cool story about a silly little bug girl. Also, ignore my little WordPress account up here in the corner. Don't worry about that. Now, the reason I'm introducing Worm to those of you who have not heard of it is because I went on reddit.com, the Worm section, and found some Magic the Gathering cards, custom Magic the Gathering cards. I'm on the other side of the screen now because there's more real estate over here. First of all, I don't know why Reddit is broken and opening the spoiler in a link instead of unspoilering it. So that's the first card is only accessible via a new tab. Now, I don't want to be overly harsh in my critique of what's been done with these 11 cards here. So I'm just going to be the amount of harsh that is reasonable. Just flipping through these, they're not good. They're not formatted correctly as Magic cards. And some of them just actually don't work. Some of the rules text on these cards is not real rules text. It doesn't do anything. And since I enjoy Worm and Magic the Gathering, this is a travesty, and I seek to correct it. In order to make my improvements, suggestions, etc., I've got MTG Card Maker Cardsmith up with my beautiful artwork, and we've got this menu that I can use to just put together just a quick little mock-up. I think this might actually... I have no idea if this is what they used. This might be the same program that they used to make these. Creature, by the way. Just Creature. So the first card in the post was Skitter Swarm Queen. For 2 black, 4 mana, 1/4 power and toughness. Given the type line of just Creature, which that doesn't function properly, and she should be legendary because she's a unique character. You're not gonna summon multiple Skitters. When Skitter Swarm Queen enters the battlefield, create 3 1/1 flying insect creature tokens in your upkeep. This is not a trigger. This doesn't do anything. In your upkeep, create 1 1/1 flying insect creature token is not rules text that delivers an actual instruction. At the beginning of your upkeep is where you put the trigger. For 2 mana and tap is create 1 1/1 flying insect creature token with Infect. Now this is the main character of Worm. This is Taylor Hebert. This is Skitter. This is the main character and the first person narrator. Her power is probably not 1. A toughness of 4, I can buy into that. I'm not very good at setting power and toughness, so I'm actually just gonna ignore power and toughness at this point. I'm also probably not gonna read too much into mana costs. I just want to start by fixing up the actual mechanics of these cards, because this is just nonsense. Create 3 1/1 flying, create 1 1/1 flying. You've got the number as a numeral and as text in the same format. How do you even do that? Now, one of these is correct. It's the one with the number as text. Hey, just jumping in here to retract the credit I was giving to them, because you don't use the word 1 to represent a single token being created. You use the word a. You say you're creating a 1/1 creature token. So neither of them were correct. But this is also just, this is very underwhelming for the protagonist. You get 1/1 bugs. So, first and foremost here, Taylor Hebert is not a mono-black creature. Not a mono-black creature. Add blue. Add blue immediately. Now, there is a slight hiccup of Worm is 1.6 million words long, and I have no idea when in the story we're exactly aiming for in terms of representing this character. However, generally speaking, she has sensory abilities with the bugs. Like, even from the get-go. They get better, but from the get-go, they exist. There are sensory abilities with the bugs. Taylor's power is to control bugs, by the way. Like, all of them, all the ones nearby. Nearby is like 2 city blocks, by the way. So, Demir, at minimum, I can see a very strong case for adding any of the other colors, honestly. White, maybe not Skitter in particular. Green, that's probably the shakiest one to tack onto this character at all. Red, though, I think we can make a pretty strong case for red. Skitter's personality is very confrontational. Taylor's personality is not, but Skitter's is. And this is a Skitter card. So we have our color identity, Grixis. This is for sure a legendary creature. Not just a creature. Not just a creature. That's not a type line. And now we come to the first dilemma here, where is this an actual worm set or not? We have this type, human, this subtype, human creature, the obvious choice that already exists. We can also do that, parahuman. That's allowed. It can make certain things work better in the future. Just for the sake of being a little bit silly, we're gonna leave it as parahuman. Criminal is not a creature type. Rogue. Parahuman rogue is a fair type line. That's probably the least important part here. Close ad. What ad? What? Hello? Is the ad invisible? So in the normal card, we have this idea. We have this idea of swarming the board with insects. That's definitely fair, but a single 1/1 token per turn is just way too slow. Yes, you get 3 on the enter the battlefield effect, but they're 1/1 tokens. And then you have this. You can create a 1/1 with infect. Infect is a ridiculously brutal keyword to tack on to anything. However, this is a tap effect. So you're still creating 2 bugs. You're creating 2 bugs per turn. I mean, what is that? This is Skitter. She controls enough bugs at once to make multiple silhouette clones of herself as a distraction tactic, while still using other bugs to attack people. We don't need this one at a time nonsense. Now what we could do, and this would be funny just to me, is we could make insect army creature tokens, because army is a creature type. We could make an insect army token. That's a little out of left field though. Now, swarming minions is great. That makes sense. That's probably not the best core strength to build this card around, I think. She can be an insect, like, tribal commander. Insects you control have +1/+1. I mean, easy as that. But let's give her something that's actually, you know, like, interesting, and not just create 1 bug per bug. Create 1 bug per turn, and that's based on her powers. Here we have this idea. Taylor's power lets her know the position of bugs, right? So this is an information gathering power. She uses her power to track people by sticking bugs on them. She uses power later in the story. She can listen to entire conversations through just a little swarm of gnats around the conversation. She can speak through a swarm of bugs with her power. Okay, these are not just little combat minions to send 1/1 damage tokens at the enemy. Okay, we need actual meat here. Actual interesting abilities to play around. So how about something along the lines of, whenever an insect you control deals combat damage to a player, look at the top card of that opponent's library. Is that the entire effect? No. We have places to go from there. What do we have to go from there? What do we do from this position? Because this is just an initial idea, right? Well, why are we looking at the top of the opponent's library? What are we doing that for? And this is the part where we get into a trick that Taylor uses a little bit of the way into the story, but not too far into the story. Weaving nets of silk, spider silk, with bugs, and then having an unreasonable amount of bugs carry those nets and carry stuff in the nets. She can just bring herself stuff with a silk net and like 800 flies. She brings herself phones. She brings herself like a can of paint or something at some point. She airdrops things on people. It's just a trick that she uses a lot in the story, that she can pick things up with her bugs. So we're gonna make this card let you pick things up with bugs. You may cast the spells. You may cast... Also, I've made a typing mistake here. That player's library. You may cast that card. Okay, we're not stealing lands. That's insane. That's ridiculous. You may cast that card. And you may spend mana as if it were any color to do so. I don't remember if that's the exact wording on that. I would check what the exact wording on that is. I'm not gonna do without their mana cost, right? This is also something that I should fix, is whenever one or more insects you control. Because we don't want to just steal the entire library of somebody in one combat phase. Well, I do, actually. That would be hilarious, but it's not reasonable. It's not balanced. If you wanna do that, you should give extra combat spells a try in the deck. You should put a bunch of extra combat spells in the deck. And this is actually this is fine how it is, I think. You get insects tougher because they're being coordinated by the master of bugs, and you get to steal stuff with the silk net trick that she actually does use to steal stuff. That's just what she does with it. And I think this fits within the color identity of Grixis because you have red and black for just attacking people with bugs. Red likes combat, black likes bugs and gross things. You got black and blue. That's the Demir, that's infiltration. You're stealing things from the enemy. There, easy. Knocked it out of the park. Now, obviously, I would cost this differently than just 3 mana. I would cost this differently based on comparing it to other commanders that do the same general thing as this. But I'm not actually trying to cost it right now. This is all example work. I'm not even hitting the preview card button. I don't need to see the actual finished card. I just have to put something in the artwork slot to get to this menu so that I have a place to type and show you what I'm talking about. So we've got Skitter. Skitter's handled. The next one on the list was Grew. Grew Impending Darkness. Menace Shroud. At the beginning of combat, up to 3 target creatures you control may gain Shroud. I think Shroud is depreciated, actually. I think it's a little bit of a non-mechanic at this point. It's still in the game because things were printed with it, but I'm pretty sure this has been supplanted by Hexproof in the design space, almost entirely. And I think Hexproof does fit Grew better. So Grew's power, right? Grew's power is generating this darkness, this cloud of darkness. All of this art, by the way, seems to be uncredited. So that's not my fault, that's the Reddit poster's fault. They stole this art. Grew can make all this darkness, cloud stuff, and within that, basically a lot of stuff is just blocked. Sound is vastly muffled. Electromagnetic signals are actually disrupted. It serves as cover against radiation at a couple points in the story. This cloud just blocks like waves through the air. I'm allowed to include light in that because of wave particle duality, which may or may not be real. Apparently, there was a headline in my For You questioning the existence of wave particle duality. Don't know what that's about. Point though being, just having first, this should be legendary creature, parahuman something. But I don't even need to break out the entire like thing for this. You just Menace is fine. It is hard for one person to block him because he can sort of obfuscate his position. Shroud, just replace that with Hexproof so that you can give him stuff. Because he does use equipment in the story. And then I would say at the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 3 target creatures you control may gain Hexproof. Alternatively, and this is a wild and wacky idea, what you could do here is you could give him just a repeatable mana ability. I don't know what color identity to assign to this guy, by the way. You could just give him a repeatable mana sink ability to create walls, like a 0/1 wall creature token with Hexproof, just to represent the cloud of darkness. Now, does it completely make sense that the cloud of darkness is blocking attacks? Not in all circumstances. It's not a foolproof way of blocking attacks, but it is pretty good cover. And I think creating wall tokens is a little more engaging than just protecting other game pieces that you have on the board already, just to make the card a little bit more fun to play around. Those walls could also have exile themselves at the beginning of the end step, right? Because it's not permanent darkness. It's an effect he has to maintain. So sink mana into it, get walls, probably only use them in combat as chump blockers, and then they disappear. Now, there is a direction that you could expand this guy in that involves stealing cards again, but that's sort of a story spoiler, which I maybe blundered into saying anyway. I'm not giving away the details though. Anyway, just having a card for Grew and not making use of something about his powers late in the story does cement us in a specific time window. Now, this just completely blows that time window out of the water, but we're not there yet. That's card 7. So here's Tattletale. Tattletale is probably my favorite character in Worm. She's a funny little psychic, and she's constantly just annoying to everyone that isn't somebody you're supposed to like. If you're friends with Tattletale, she's just great to have around. She's funny, and she figures things out to help you. If you're not friends with Tattletale, she's just the worst. Anyway, this card design for Tattletale is mono blue, which, fair, but is focused entirely on scrying, and I think that's just the complete opposite of the right direction to take this character. Scrying is that's your own deck that you're looking at. Your scrying is look at the top cards of your deck, put them back in any order or on the bottom of your library. It lets you set things up, it lets you plan long term, and she's good at that. Tattletale's good at that, but that's not her power. She should also be a legendary creature, by the way. So we've got mono blue, that's fine. We've got legendary creature, and this should be parahuman something. Oh, duh, she's a parahuman advisor. So, Tattletale, right? Great at uncovering secrets about someone else. Early example of her power, not much of a spoiler. There's another character in the story called Victoria. Victoria Dowlin has the power of a force field that is invisible and disappears on a hard impact for a little bit. Like, the force field gives her super strength, and will completely block an attack, but any major impact on the force field pops it, and it takes a couple seconds to come back online. This force field is literally invisible. Tattletale figures out that it's a force field and not just invulnerability in like 3 seconds. And Tattletale's solution, given the information that she figured out, was, okay, that is a force field. I'm pretty sure it'll just pop if there's a big impact on it, and the force field is what's making it impossible for your little bugs to harass her. So, I've got this neat little Glock here. I'm gonna pop the force field, and you send in the bugs. So she's very much a tactician, and not like a, at least the point in the story where we're introducing characters, she doesn't serve as a sit back, sort out the assets that you already have, and then plan out your next moves. She's much more of an in-the-thick-of-it tactician. And if you're going to use the subtitle... Title? Just title, right? If you're going to say psychoanalyst here, you're definitely referring to the Tattletale that's on the battlefield, figuring things out in the moment, doing tactical decisions, and not the Tattletale that is sitting back in headquarters, pinning things together with string on corkboards. Now, what do we do with this information? How about something simple? You may look at face-down cards at any time, like in exile or on the battlefield, because that's where face-down cards are supposed to end up. I'm talking about morph creatures, manifest cards, and foretell cards, right? Hideaway as well. Anything that's exiled face down or on the battlefield face down, you could just look at it, and that's just a passive ability. And that's fun. I think that effect exists already, so you'd be able to figure out how to cost this fairly just by comparing to that. So we've already represented some of the information gathering. We can push that a little. We could do some look at the opponent's hand type situations, but I don't know if that's... Oh, here could be a fun ability. Tap. Name a card. Spells with that name. I don't know there's technical wording for this ability format. I don't have it memorized because it's not a very common effect. Spells with that name can't be played until Tattletale untaps, right? And then this tricky thing, you may choose not to untap Tattletale during your untap step. So just look at things, particularly foretell cards, that you're not supposed to be able to look at. And if something is bothering you, just say, alright, I'm going to spend all my effort locking that down. You don't get to do that because I said so. That feels very Tattletale to me. Pinning the opponent to a just bad tactical position where they can't do something that they want to because of Tattletale is exactly in character and on brand. Now, the obvious solution to the dilemma is to just attack Tattletale which does come up in story. You know, if your plan is to talk the enemy to death, and they have a way to shut you up, you should probably make sure that that's the first thing you prevent. This character's name is Rachel. This is a lot of text for a card. This is an enter the battlefield effect that is formatted wrong. Currently, it creates 3 1/1 red dog creature tokens, and all of the creature tokens are named Brutus, Judas, and Angelica. That's the name of each token. Gruel is a fair color identity, I think. That's entirely reasonable. But that enter the battlefield effect kind of doesn't work. And those dogs should just be cards, separate cards, honestly. I mean, this character's power is not tied to specific dogs. It is the power to enhance. You see these monstrous creatures here? These big spiky lasses, whatever. It's not clear. Those are dogs. Those are dogs. Those are normal dogs. Those are normal dogs under the influence of Rachel's power. Rachel's power is making dogs very large and very spiky. Now, if you give me complete creative freedom over making a card based on Rachel Lint from Worm, I would go absolutely in a stupid direction, and I would make her a bestow creature because I'm insane. But this is not what we're going to do in this video. We're not making a bestow creature here. Instead, we have a Gruel, parahuman. What do we say here? But I think the most fitting creature types to slot in here would be either shaman is one option. Berserker could work. I'm just gonna leave it blank. Shrug. Let's clear the tattletale text. Now, this is just already formatted wrong. We're creating dogs. That's not how that power works. This ability enhances dogs, but only dog tokens. That's not what we do. Instead, what we have for this character is we just need to make a dog tribal commander. Wolf is also a different creature type. Her power does technically work better on wolves. Dogs you control have what if we just go ridiculous with it? +3/+3 trample and menace. Now this would be costed very high. This would not be costed green-red. Wolves you control, there doesn't need to be a comma there, have +3/+3 trample and menace. I've gotten these numbers from this ability here. Give all dog tokens. That doesn't say that you control, by the way. +3/+3 in trample, or +4/+4 trample and menace. I think we can actually just knock trample off of the dogs. +3/+3 in menace, upgrading to +3/+3 trample and menace. And that's very simple and to the point, but so is Rachel as a person. So now again, if you give me complete creative freedom here, I'm gonna have ridiculous ideas. I'm gonna have insane abilities like tap. There would be a mana cost associated with this. Obviously, I think red or green here works. Probably green because it's growth. This is not 1 mana. This is green X. Anyway, the idea here is create an aura token attached to target dog or wolf with enchant creature, obviously, because it doesn't function without that. And enchanted creature has +1/+1 or some other interval, right? This could be +2/+2. And then the idea here is add menace, add trample. Like you just stack things on to the token aura. Because that's how oh, and totem armor. Give the aura totem armor, actually. I think we actually just have green tap, create an aura token. Enchanted creature has +2/+2 and menace. I like menace better than trample because it just lets you steamroll single blockers, and these are dogs the size of a truck. You should be able to steamroll single blockers. You can do the same thing with trample, but what's better, like bleeding damage over through one blocker is worse than dealing all of your damage because they couldn't block. I think we go for menace. Enchanted creature has +2/+2 and menace and totem armor. Right, that makes it so that in order to actually take out the dog, you have to chew through all of the totem armor tokens that have been placed. I had to double check that totem armor doesn't just wipe all of the totem armors on something. It's a replacement effect. Only one of them is gonna. So yeah, this actually does a really good job of representing Rachel's power. It applies slowly because of the tap effect, but it makes the dog bigger. It makes the dog harder to stop. And it makes the dog harder to kill because if you just... The actual dog is inside this ridiculous spiky creature. You have to hammer through the entire... I just pointed at my monitor because you can see that. We're gonna move on. Devious Rascal is not something that I would call Regent. I would not consider him a devious rascal. I think that's underselling it a little. So Menace and First Strike are both a little questionable here. First Strike, I can see it. He's able to make people stumble, so he can definitely get hits in that are unexpected. He just can't completely stop people from hitting him back. And he has the stun baton. First Strike, I can see that. That works. Menace, I'm not as sold on. White, black, sure. Yeah. You could throw blue in there. You don't have to. He should be legendary, obviously, but we're past that at this point. We also have Imp. These two cards are tied together in the design. Unblockable is not a keyword. As far as I know, it could be, but it doesn't seem like it is. I would honestly do Shadow here. Like, this is an occasion where you can use Shadow. What I would not do is phase her out. Does not. I mean, you've got Shroud, you've got Unblockable, and you've got phasing. This is just too many things preventing interaction. Her entire power is preventing interaction, but you've overrepresented it on the card. The card is just not there most of the time. What I would probably give Imp is Shadow. Creatures with Shadow can only do combat with other Shadow creatures, so that lets her just get around blockers most of the time. And Dimir here is fine. Let's not do the phasing thing. What I would probably say is, when it's not your turn, Hexproof? As long as it's not your turn, she has Hexproof. Could be... Actually, this is an occasion where Shroud applies, because her power is not selective, but it does turn on and off. I would say as long as it's not your turn, Imp has Shroud. That fits the power well, and it does allow a little bit of counterplay, which her power does have a little bit of counterplay, so it's fair. And then this other thing, don't have these two creatures giving each other a +1/+1 buff. That's not a lot, and it's also... I mean, we have an ability in this game. It's called Partner. Just give them Partner with. Regent has Partner with Imp. Imp has Partner with Regent. Easy. We don't need them to buff each other. We can make them strong anyway. Imp is strong because if she's in the command zone, you're dealing commander damage with Shadow. Shadow is ridiculous. The commander damage stacks up very quickly. As for Regent, now this ability is a little bit insane. 1 and tap, gain control of target creature with power less than 6. Maximum of 2 creatures this way. This is a little inaccurate. He can't control a maximum of 2 creatures. That's just false. He's shown with more than that in the story. What I would probably do here with Regent's power is that it doesn't work this quickly. 1 mana and tapping Regent is far too little effort to gain control of a creature compared to what it actually takes in the story. He has to spend hours accomplishing that. What he can do on a moment's notice is he can make someone flinch. So if you want a tap ability on this guy, it could be like remove target creature from combat. That's allowed. That's an ability that you could have on this card. It might be a little pushed to do that and the theft thing, but here's a way you can do both. For whatever mana cost you want to put on it, probably 1. Probably 2, actually, because this is a fog effect. It's single target, but it's outside of its normal color. Green is the normal color for fogs, so I would say 2 mana. 2 mana and tap, remove target creature from combat, and put a crown counter. Or if crown counters already exist, something else. Influence counter, doesn't really matter. Point is put a counter on it, and then you can use the counters to delay the trigger and have it be after, if this is the whatevereth counter on the creature. You could even have if the number of counters, so it would be then if the number of counters on the creature. Now, it would be the type of counter that we're adding, not just counters in general, the type of counter that we're adding. If the number of those counters is greater than either the power or toughness, gain control of the creature. Like, you could do that. You could do that way, and that would be more authentic, and that would be more balanced, I think. And then just going Partner with instead of +1/+1. And again, get rid of Menace and make him legendary. I think Imp and Regent are actually the closest to pretty reasonable, strong designs in this little set, which is why I didn't bother coming over here into my little interface and typing a bunch of stuff, because I didn't feel the need to. Now, did I make a bunch of really drastic changes to both of them? Yes, I did, but it's not changes that are attacking the idea behind the cards. The idea behind the cards is that this guy has some combat superiority with Menace and First Strike, has some theft with this tap ability, has some synergy with him. This card has synergy with Regent, and cannot be interacted with. The ideas backing these cards are good ideas. They're authentic ideas to the story. These two cards are pretty well designed. I would appreciate it if the art was credited and not just unknown here. But if you just proofread these against cards that already exist and make sure the abilities actually are phrased in the way that the abilities are supposed to be phrased, these two are the strongest designs in the set of 11. And then we have Kepri. And we're actually gonna cut it off there with a to be continued, because I didn't realize just how long this video was. So I'm gonna skip to the outro that I recorded at the time, and I'm gonna save the other half of this footage for a different occasion. I feel like I should do some sort of overly dramatic sign-off just because it's my last video of the year, but this is the calendar incrementing by 1 in the year column is not really gonna have that big of an impact on what's going on around here, around my channel and stuff. So, you know, dates are just numbers at the end of the day, and the beginning of the day, and the middle of the day. Like, the entire day, it's just numbers. Here's hoping to good days in the next set of numbers, I guess.